plenty of people will be hitting the portal. Of course, it's already started, but obviously that still has a lot of names yet to come as so many teams are still playing in this tournament. In Indiana, we've seen so many different names that Indiana has reached out to. Nothing tangible yet, nothing with teeth, just a lot of different guys. Leland Taylor, is that his name?
Leland Walker, is that you're thinking?
Leland Walker, rather. Yeah. An Indianapolis product. Stetson's Jalen Blackman. They're still playing, but there's no doubt that he's going to be a wanted guy, probably.
Yeah, I mean, what I say about the portal here is this is a time when, this week in particular, there is just a lot of white noise. There's a lot of players going into the portal. There's just a really large number of kind of just a large quantity, essentially, of players going in, opening their recruitments, whatever they're trying to do. And obviously, as the first weekend in particular of the tournament, kind of unfolds, you'll get a lot, particularly of maybe mid and low major guys that start getting that once their season's over, they enter the portal as well. And there will be a lot of discussion of, this team is interested in this player, this team has contacted this player. You'll see guys, that will come out with just huge lists of 12, 15 teams that have all been in touch. And when I say a lot of it is white noise, what I mean is just that basically, you've got to give this whole thing some time to sort of settle, essentially. And, I think it still moves fast, but I think that with some exceptions, that first week, there's always a handful of guys that have a pretty good idea of what they want and where they want to go, whatever. But with some exceptions, it's kind of that second week when guys really start digging into, this is where I want to visit. These are the people I'm interested in hearing more from, etc. So I think that probably where we are at right now is a little bit still kind of in that, that white noise stage of just like so many players going into the portal. And again, it's kind of, listen, it's simplistic to say this, but after this weekend, there will be 16 teams left playing, which means that there will be 346 teams or 346 teams whose players will feel free to enter the portal. It's after this weekend that I think stuff will really kind of pick up and change. And you'll start to really see like tangible movement kind of across the board.
And obviously we know that Indiana has to really fill some guard spots, but I'm expecting there to be 7 spots to fill. I do not expect Khalil Ware to be back. Now that doesn't mean that he won't be, obviously, but I'm just from looking at the boards, and I just think that he's going to be a first-round pick. And if you're a first-round pick, I don't see him turning that down personally. We'll see. But regardless, if it's 6 or 7, that's still a sizable number for a staff who has been so-so. They've gotten some home runs, but they've also struck out. This obviously is the most important offseason for Mike Woodson in his short tenure, but he has to get it right now. They have to fill these roles, these positions, with guys that can do what Indiana was not able to do this year. With what we've seen previously, how likely are they to really to get all of those pieces when guys watch other teams, and Indiana running the ball through the middle, and then with Woodson doubling down and saying that I believe college basketball runs through the middle still. I don't know how that affects guys that are shooters, guards, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to your first point about where, I mean, um, I would be surprised, and there's a range of opinions on him between. I've seen guys that have him in the lottery, I've seen guys that have him in the second round, or I should say draft projections. But I think enough people see him as a top 20 prospect, top 20 type pick, that it's just hard for me to imagine it being worth it for him to come back. Um, rather than just going ahead, getting on that rookie deal. It's fully guaranteed. Start moving towards your second contract, etc. It has been interesting to me. It seems like if you kind of look at, and it's not an extraordinarily long list of names yet. It does seem like Indiana's been in touch with more guards in the portal early on here, and I don't know that that's I don't think Indiana's going to play 4 out, 1 in next year. But it does seem like there's maybe a bit more of an emphasis on guard depth and guard play. And, you mentioned Leland Walker, who's in the portal. I think there's certainly a feeling around college basketball that Jalen Blackman will go in the portal when Stetson's season ends, presumably today, because they play UConn in a 116 game. Those are, I think, 2 players that, yeah, it's possible Indiana could target. It's possible others could too. What I would say is, per my understanding, Indiana has really doubled down on its NIL opportunities. And I think that the amount of money that we're talking about Indiana having, I don't want to say it's necessarily twice as much as it was a year ago, but I think we're talking about substantially more money than even a year ago when Indiana probably had one of the most robust setups in the Big Ten. So, I wouldn't be shocked if Indiana had a top 10 or even a top 5 number nationally right now in total NIL resources. And that's going to make, that's going to be a big part of your pitch. I mean, that's, you can love it, you can hate it. That's just kind of the way, recruiting works now is, these kids want to know about their opportunities in the NIL space, and, they want to be able to capitalize on their likeness. And if Indiana's going to have really competitive numbers in that area, then Indiana's going to appeal, I think, to a lot of these transfers. But in general, I think we could sit here and speculate all day on who's going in and who Indiana might target or whatever. I think Indiana has got to, as you say, they've got a lot of work to do, and they've just got to be expedient about who they're pulling in.
Absolutely. And I know Indiana fans are keeping an eye on that. And it's ironic. I said in the break earlier before you joined us, I said, man, if Purdue were to lose today, there would be between Bloomington and Louisville, in the dead center of that would be the epicenter of this Purdue, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky. It would be like the sinkhole that happened at the Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky several years ago that just suddenly opened up and bam, because these 4 programs, while Purdue is having a good run, not so much in March yet, just ironic that all 4 of those programs, well, Purdue's been winning and Kentucky's been winning, but it's the March success. The ones that haven't been winning, obviously no success, but even the ones that have been winning, like Kentucky and Purdue, Indiana has as many wins since 2021 as Purdue, Kentucky, and Louisville combined, which is a crazy stat.
You mean in the tournament?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
no, it has not been Purdue, to be fair, has held up its end. I understand they lost the 116 game last year, but you don't win back-to-back outright Big Ten titles by accident. I mean, like that. Let's be fair. Purdue still is what it has been sort of billed as these last couple years, one of the best programs in the country. The Fairleigh Dickinson loss notwithstanding. But this little axis, if you even kind of want to hook in Cincinnati, which obviously had some kind of down years that it seems like Wes Miller is maybe pulling him back up a little bit, but it's not like Cincinnati and I mean, even maybe to some extent Xavier have, pulled up a ton of trees. Xavier had a nice bounce back year in Sean Miller's first year last year, but they didn't make the tournament this year. Again, Cincinnati is still trying to build back with Wes Miller. Louisville obviously is just a mess. You talk about Kentucky, the results really have not been there. There's been a lot of questions about just kind of like, basically does John Calipari still have both hands on the wheel? I know that, that this felt a little bit maybe reactionary, but I know there were people who wondered last night if that was Calipari's last game at Kentucky. And then you have Indiana, obviously, and even Butler, to some extent, a program that, really I think has struggled to find its competitive footing in the Big East in the last 4 or 5 years. The point is, this part of the world, this kind of Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, triangle here cares a lot about college basketball and hasn't necessarily seen a ton of success in it in the last few years.